CHCH Evening News with Nicole Martin.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. We begin with some breaking news. Throughout my career, I've reported live on major developing stories in breaking news. We're learning more about this stabbing in downtown Hamilton yesterday, and the details are disturbing. We are now in the final hours of the federal election campaign, and two of the main party leaders were in our area hoping to gain support ahead of tomorrow's vote. Ontario is reporting more than 1,200 new cases of COVID-19 today, the highest tally this week. Ontario's Solicitor General is now backtracking on the policing powers they announced just yesterday, following criticism from advocacy groups, mayors, and a growing number of police services. In some cases, that means going live for hours at a time, like covering the verdict of a major murder trial or co-anchoring special coverage out in the field. Certainly a tragic situation. 15 people in total shot, and we're learning a little bit more about two of the victims. In just under 30 minutes, the parole board came back with their decision. Parole denied. Whether I'm out in the field, grabbing a mic and going live to bring viewers the most up-to-date information. We're learning that the Capitol building is now secured, and politicians like Canada's Prime Minister and former U.S. President George W. Bush are speaking out, calling the scenes in Washington, D.C. tonight sickening and heartbreaking. Phil, the latest poll numbers showed a statistical dead heat between the two frontrunners for the mayoral race here in Hamilton, the incumbent Fred Eisenberger and candidate Vito Scro. The main issue here in Hamilton is, of course, the LRT. Neighbors are gathering and they're here to ask questions, but also hear from Councillor Narinder Nan, the Ministry of Environment, and the demolition company that was responsible for pulling down that building, sending that dust cloud over the city. The Thorold Tunnel remains closed. There was flooding due to extreme weather from this snow event today, and they're expecting to reopen the tunnel tomorrow morning. The lab here at McMaster University is the only one in Canada that has been approved to receive samples and then check for these rare types of blood clots, or digging into an investigative piece trying to find the answers. Would you offer the people of Hamilton an apology on behalf of City Hall?
I apologize that the event happened. It shouldn't have happened.
Was this a cover-up? City Council knew since January. No. Why is it not a cover-up if you're withholding that information from the public? My persistence and determination drive me to uncover the truth for our viewers. And joining me live in Burlington now is Mayor Mary Ann Mead Ward. You issued a news release late this afternoon saying you're shocked, you're disturbed by this sewage leak. You must have a number of questions tonight. When the people of Canada headed to the polls, I had the privilege of bringing the voters the results. Good evening and welcome to Your Home, Your Vote election coverage 2021. There's still 90 minutes left to vote here in Ontario, but the polls have closed in Atlantic Canada, and some of the results are already coming in. Hosting both the federal and provincial elections, I interviewed panelists and interacted with reporters. We're going to connect with Kelly Botello, who's at the Conservative Party headquarters in Oshawa. Kelly, any reaction there to the numbers so far? Adam Atkinson is there, where Bob Bertina is hoping to hang on to his Liberal seat, but can he do it tonight, Adam? And I was live out in the field at City Hall as the mayor of Hamilton was re-elected. Mayor Fred Eisenberger has a 20,000 vote lead over his direct competitor, Vito Scro. I'll show you right now, Councillor Jason Farr is back in the building. We know that you have been re-elected tonight. You have a whole group behind you with your signs, lots of cheering and excitement. How are you feeling tonight? What we have heard is that Mayor Fred Eisenberger is expected to come here and make his address coming up shortly, so stay tuned for that. But for now, I'm going to send things back to you, Taz and Phil. And I'm not afraid to have a little fun if the story allows it. There's really only one thing to do on a snow day. Let's race! I keep slouching down on my chair. I'm like, no, I can't believe I just did that. From one-on-one interviews with political and community leaders to celebrities on the red carpet, my energetic personality allows me to cover a wide range of stories.
Whoa, wow. Nicole, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much. It's been a while, but I'm happy to be here bright and early.
You all ready for a ride?
A ride of a lifetime. On the weekends, it's fast-paced. I anchor, produce, and help write the evening news. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Our top story is one that has angered many today. Tributes have poured in for the father of hockey legend Wayne Gretzky after his death was announced by his son late Thursday night. Hamilton paramedics say a 55-year-old man is in serious condition after falling approximately 25 feet near the Smoky Hollow waterfall in Waterdown. And that means looking at the impact stories will have locally, nationally, or internationally. We begin tonight with a rare video message from Prime Minister Justin Justin Trudeau. As the world witnessed a United Airlines engine catch fire over the weekend, local aviation expert and former investigator David Rohr says there are only two reasons a catastrophic failure like that would occur. Hamilton is reporting 700 active cases of COVID-19 for the first time since January. The OPP say it's something they've never seen before. A driver killed by a highway sign that came crashing down onto his SUV. Authorities continue to be on standby as anti-lockdown protests continue to grow in our regions today. I often bring in experts to break down the complex stories. Were you surprised by this verdict today? Not guilty of second-degree murder. Mayor Davis, first of all, thank you so much for joining us. We just talked about the intense smoke looking similar to the tire fire in Haldimand or Plastiman in Hamilton, but has Brantford seen anything like this one before? For me, this is much more than a job. Reporting is my passion, and I take the responsibility seriously to deliver the viewers the facts, the emotion, and the news they need to know. A car salesman clings to a windshield wiper of a BMW as it swerves into traffic, drives through stoplights, and accelerates to 100 kilometers an hour on a busy London street.
My instincts were just to hang on.
23-year-old Mo Al-Casey says this attack has been playing over and over in his mind since it happened last Wednesday.
If they did this once, they're going to do it again, and we're just trying to prevent that from happening to other sales reps, to other dealerships.
He was working at the family business Sport Motors, seen here in a winter jacket. His older brother Mustafa received a call from a 647 area code about a BMW M4 on the lot, valued at more than $72,000.
No matter how rare the car is, you don't kill someone trying to steal a vehicle, you know.
Shortly before 6 o'clock that evening, this silver Audi with tinted windows pulls in.
Only one person came out of it. The guy had a suit on. I mean, he knew what he was talking about in terms of car. There was no red flags at all.
He said his name was KR.
There was no talks of any test drives or anything like that. He just wanted to see the car.
The man walked around the vehicle and sat inside. He asked Mo to start the car to hear the engine, and Mo says he kept the keys in his pocket and stood in front of the vehicle with the engine still running. But seconds later,
he puts it in drive and kind of rams right into my knee right there.
what you don't see on the video is the moment that Mo is struck, and that's because the security cameras are pointed a different direction, but Mo is thrown onto the hood of the vehicle just as it takes off.
I was screaming, stop, you know, screaming to cars, just call 911, somebody just do something, right?
Mo was hanging on for more than 1 kilometer.
He was swerving right and left aggressively to try and throw Mo off of the vehicle.
But then the BMW approaches heavier traffic. That's when Mo decides to let go. Disoriented, the 23-year-old tries to make it to the sidewalk, but the Audi tailing behind speeds up.
He kind of hit me and he kept driving. And I called 911 right after that happened.
We don't have a plate in relation to that vehicle, and we don't have a plate on the stolen BMW aside from the dealer plate that was attached at the time.
Police say they continue their search for the men responsible. Mustafa tells us BMW Canada looked up the location of the vehicle using GPS and determined it was in North York, but the signal has since been lost.
He drove from here to GTA and the car is gone. There's no car and there's no thief and we don't know anything.
Mo says it's a miracle he only suffered bruising and cuts and wasn't killed. In London, Nicole Martin, CHCH News. Jurors were shown videos of the shooting and heard from witnesses who saw the traumatic events unfold. We also heard the police radio transmission from beginning to end in which officers were warned that divers may be armed, but there was no mention of any mental health concerns. We're not going to show you the actual shooting. Even so, some viewers might find the video in this story disturbing. It's September 30th, 2016, a Friday night on James Street South.
We have a clothing description of divers. White Jordan pants and a gray hoodie, male weight 6'4", and gun seen this morning. Suspect may be possibly armed.
36-year-old Anthony Divers begins heading towards a bus stop.
Be advised, suspect may be armed.
That warning repeated on the police radio transmission at least 3 times. Officers have been looking for Divers after his estranged wife Madeline called 911 to report an assault that had taken place minutes earlier.
She said she was just punched in the face by her ex, Tony Divers.
As well, the complainant advised that this morning he showed up to her house with a gun, so be aware that he may be armed.
I got him here outside of Mescal.
A bus pulls up and a police car comes around. There's a blur from the streetlights in the area. Then all of a sudden, Divers begins to run on the sidewalk around the bus. The officer follows.
I got him running northbound on James Street.
There's another closer angle to show what happens after. Before this was played in court, the family gathered tissues. They would then watch one of their most horrific memories.
It's awful. It's agony and agonizing for the family to go through that.
You can see another bus pulls up. Divers who had been running appears. The officer just feet behind. 6 witnesses who were in court today, 2 HSR bus drivers and bystanders, explained what happened next. The officer kept saying, "Stop, get down," and he said it not just once, he said it a couple of times. Police said, "I don't know how many times, stop, don't move, or I'll shoot you."
Please don't move!
Mr. Divers had his hands around his coat. He had one in his coat and another by his waist. The subject of Mr. Divers' hands was important to lawyers, and they questioned all the witnesses about it. One said the deceased's hand was on his waist. It looked like he was trying to reach for something. The driver of this bus seen here in the video just steps away from the intense standoff, said you could tell he was turning and stepping towards the bus. The gentleman made a step or two and the officer fired.
84 shots fired.
Shots fired.
Shots fired.
We have stopped the video intentionally, the moment when the officer fired the 2 shots. This is the area on James Street where the shooting took place, near the underpass by Hunter.
With the victim right now. Let's take a good shot to the chest.
A witness saying, "I remember a bunch of police officers coming on scene. They were giving CPR for a seemingly long period of time."
CPR 2357.
And then, nearly 8 minutes later,
On Road St. Joe's right now.
Divers, who was unarmed, was pronounced dead in hospital on October 1st, 2016.
My dad was the best father, a heart of gold, did everything for his family.
Elias Kitsopoulos died at the age of 67. He was with his wife, Constantina, at the time when he was hit and killed. His daughter, Sue, said her parents were inseparable. She will never forget the day she lost her dad 10 years ago. That day, her parents walked to Tim Hortons and were enjoying a coffee. Sue happened to be driving by.
I saw my dad. He saw me. He blew a kiss to me. And that was the last time I saw. That was the last time. It's like he knew he wouldn't see me again, but he blew a kiss and that was it.
Hours later, Elias was killed. The couple was crossing Green Road on the south side of Barton Street East when they were struck by an SUV that Hamilton police said was traveling southbound. Elias was dragged 100 meters as the vehicle continued south into a nearby neighborhood. Sue's mother was also hurt and is still recovering, but mentally she will never get over what happened that night on March 22nd, 2011.
Nothing's going to bring my father back, but knowing why it happened and how, that's what we need to know.
All police know is that it was a dark SUV that took off, and the license plate has 4 letters followed with 3 numbers, beginning with a B.
Someone has told their friend, their neighbor, their cousin, their sister, perhaps a auto body shop at that time did repair work.
There's now a $25,000 reward through City Council and the Police Service Board for information leading to an arrest.
Give them any information you have, a little tip, anything will help.
Someone has developed a conscience over the last 10 years. Please, we urge them to come forward.
Like the Kitsopoulos family, there are many others looking for justice. The police service tweeted out a list of cases that need to be solved, with rewards totaling $275,000. It's all to help bring closure to 13 families of homicide and hit-and-run victims.
13 families, multiple families within each case that have been impacted.
The oldest on the list dates back to 1995.
A house-to-house canvass was underway as police continued to search for leads in the murder of 19-year-old Helen Gillings.
3 cases have $50,000 reward values assigned, like the investigation of missing person Cheryl Shepard. She hasn't been seen or heard from since New Year's Day 1998, hours after her boyfriend proposed to her live on the air during a CHCH New Year's Eve show.
In 1998, I'd like to ask you to marry me, Cheryl. Marriage proposal!
Police are also hoping someone has information to lead to the arrests in Angelo Musitano's murder in Waterdown in 2017. For more information about the rewards, you can visit our website, chch.com. Nicole Martin, CHCH News.